Okay, and here we are back. Finally, God, shit is just seems never ending. All right, um, yeah, probably not gonna be able to finish it tonight, but we'll go as far as we can. The profitability of hate. Like most figures in the alt-right or reactionary right-wing space, again with the bullshit. The grift is never far behind, whether it be through merchandise, membership clubs, or book sales. It's relatively easy to make money off of YouTube videos. On average, YouTube pays $3 to $5 per 1,000 video streams. That that doesn't sound like much money. What? Um, but it should be noted that the amount of money a YouTuber makes can vary wildly or widely. Using this range, I can estimate the amount of money the 20 anti-The Last Jedi YouTubers from above have made in the lifetime of their channel. This does not include any money made from merchandise sales or Patreon subscriptions, which tend to be more lucrative than what the average person can make off of YouTube ad revenue. Um, I'm I don't remember who, but I'm pretty sure that a few of these people that know that they're in this article, I've seen them talk about it, and they never go in depth like I'm doing, reading the fucking thing. But I think several of them have mentioned that it's fucking ridiculous. The estimates here about how much they make. They're like, you're way off. It's like, you think we're making bank on this, and we're fucking not. So I mean, I don't know. According to the YouTubers themselves, these people have grossly overestimated their YouTube income. Um, you can believe who you want to. I would certainly lean towards believing the YouTubers rather than believing the idiots who wrote this article, because as I've already pointed out, the vast majority of everything in this fucking article is all a fucking lie, or at the very least, it is, you know, it's false. I mean, whether it's just because they're too incompetent to know what they're talking about, or whether they're just like legitimately they know the truth and they're just fucking lying about everything. Don't know. Don't know. um, so they're estimating that the quartering has made between 1.3 and 2.3 million dollars off of his YouTube channel. Um, and then there's Geeks and Gamers, 400 to 600K. The Critical Drinker. Um, I wouldn't recommend necessarily anybody subscribing to the quartering. Like I said, he's milk toast. I'm not all that interested. Geeks and Gamers, kind of the same. I wouldn't really recommend. Critical Drinker, I would recommend that everybody sub to him. He is really entertaining. They're estimating 300 to 600K. Clownfish TV. As I said, it's like they're left of center, but they're pretty good at covering entertainment news and whatnot. So I would recommend subscribing to them. Estimating 200 to 300K for them. Thor Skywalker. I don't really know about him. 170 to 295K. Nerdrotic. Gary's pretty entertaining. 160 to 260K. Mauler. I don't. I'm not subscribed to Mauler. I don't really pay that much attention to him anymore, but I used to. The thing about him, he's very good at objective analysis of of movies and shit. Um, he's pretty clever, pretty entertaining, but he takes just an ungodly amount of time to actually churn out a review. It takes him 6 months to a year or something to review one movie. It's of course he also runs the EFAP with which is in a way it's kind of what we're doing here, I guess, EFAPing this shit. But he runs the EFAP thing with Rags and various guests, and that those streams are ridiculously long. They're like anywhere from 8 to like 24 hours or something, and they're fun, but if you can afford the investment in time, and I finally decided I can't. It's funny, to watch them, talk about shit and make fun of it and whatnot, but at some point you're just gonna be like, okay, it's like I don't have time to spend all fucking day watching this. Not when there's tons of other much shorter videos piling up to to try to keep track of. Oh, pardon me. So they're estimating 140 to 240K for him. Midnight's Edge. I don't find Midnight's Edge interesting enough to really pay attention to them, but they do tend to be pretty good at finding out behind the scenes info, and they report, I guess, technically rumors, but their rumors have a habit of being accurate. 140 to 230K for them. SC Reviews, not really familiar with them. 120 to 216K for them. World Class Bullshitters, they're kind of entertaining, but I don't know. 120 to 200K for them. Cover Artist Pro Secrets, that's Ethan Van Sciver. Everybody should go sub to him. He's quite fun. 121 to 202K. Vito, You'd think with all those views that Vito would be doing better on this list. 71 to 119K. Overlord DVD, Doomcock's pretty entertaining. Yeah, sure, go give him a sub. 66K to 110K. Jar Jar Abrams, not familiar with that channel. 49 to 83K. Mechrandom 42. Again, I assume they're claiming she's alt-right or whatever. Mechrandom 42. She's a left-winger. She's definitely left of center, although she is generally anti-SJW. 44 to 74K. And the thing about, see, what was it recently? She kind of came down on the opposite side of things. Most people were against Joss Whedon in the recent, revelations of how he was treating people, and Mecca apparently decided, with one of her buddies from Midnight's Edge, to come down on the side of Joss Whedon. Don't cancel Joss Whedon, and it's like, I'm sorry, I can't. Joss Whedon's a piece of shit. I can't support you on that one. That Star Wars girl, she's I don't know. I don't know what to say about her. It's like sometimes she's really entertaining and sometimes she's kind of boring. And sometimes she seems really sweet and sometimes she seems not quite as sweet. And I don't know. Some of her takes are great and some of them fucking suck. 43 to 73K. Ryan Cannell, RK Outpost, 28 to 47K. He's a part of Jeremy Geeks and Gamers Network or whatever. I Love Comics. I'm not familiar with that channel offhand. 10 to 17K. Drunk 3PO. Yeah, go give him a sub. He's a cool guy. 6 to 11K. Bounding into Comics. I guess that's a channel run by the website, because that is a website, I believe, Bounding into Comics. 2 to 4K. Total 3.7 to 6.1 million. And that's for channel lifetime. That's not a lot of money for a lifetime. I mean, not if they've been doing it for quite some time. Of course, I imagine they make a fuck ton more than that when they do live streams and they get super chats. Even though YouTube takes 30%, I believe, of the super chats. This, some people still are making a ton of money that way. Okay, keeping in mind that the majority of channels have been active for only 3 to 4 years. Oh, well, some of them have definitely been longer than that. But anyway, the current average max total earnings within this group is 308,966, with a medium of $202,369. The likely top earner within this group is the Quartering, who potentially has made over $2 million from his channel. Geeks and Gamers, a YouTuber. They keep saying YouTuber like Geeks and Gamers is a singular person. And that's not factual. The Geeks and Gamers channel has videos posted to it by Jeremy, who runs the company Geeks and Gamers, and they also have a website, I believe, and they're supposedly coming out with an app for your phone or something. And a whole bunch of other people, Ryan Cannell and various others, also post. I guess it's kind of interesting that Josiah Rises is not on here. I figured they would have gone after him. He's a fairly solidly right wing Christian guy, and he's part of Geeks and Gamers. Anyway, and Jeremy has his own personal channel. So Geeks and Gamers is the main company channel, which a whole bunch of different people have access to and post videos to. A YouTuber who like I said, I mean, it's weird to see them do that. Like the way they're saying, I don't know if it's like, are they trying to be intentionally like slightly disrespectful, or is it just yet another indication that they really don't fucking know what they're talking about? Who commonly decries Lucasfilm for their feminist agenda. Well, certainly Kathleen Kennedy has one. She made that clear. And problems with white people. I don't specifically remember him talking about that, but it wouldn't surprise me, and it wouldn't surprise me at all that they have one. Has potentially made as much as $680K pushing pro-Trump sentiment. Nothing wrong with pushing pro-Trump sentiment. Anti-feminist propaganda, otherwise known as the truth, and white supremacist ideology, otherwise known as "you're fucking lying, you piece of shit asswipe who wrote this article." That nobody on here is a white supremacist. Nobody, not a single fucking one of them, and the vast majority of the ones that you keep on calling that are not even white identitarians, let alone supremacists. Like Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. He's not a fucking white supremacist. He's not even a white identitarian. Okay? He is a kind of milquetoast conservative who is stupid enough to think that it's a wonderful thing, a positive, that he's got so many fucking left-wingers working for him at his company. It's not. And probably it's eventually going to lead to his downfall, his company's downfall. That he hires, SJWs to work for him. That's a bad move. But he really thinks that he's, that he's doing something great by having people work for him that don't share his views. It's like he's virtue signaling about that. He's so pleased with himself. Look at me, I've hired, this black SJW guy who was a fucking NFL, star or whatever. Good luck with that. Gary, I'm sure, has pointed out, the ridiculousness of anybody who counts other people's money. Obviously, the more. Oh, wait a minute. Well, he was on there, right? Where was he? Oh, he's right there. Okay. So I said, wait a minute. Did they even have him on there? Yeah, he was on there. Obviously, the more a channel rakes in ad revenue, the more popular that channel is, and the more popular that channel is, the more visibility the channel has on YouTube. Unless YouTube is specifically suppressing you, which sometimes they do. This creates an easy pipeline for alt-right radicalization, except that nobody on your fucking list here is doing that. Yeah, let's go back over these. Let's start at the bottom. Bounding into comics, they might be like very vaguely right-wing. I'm not sure about that. Drunk Rio, he's not particularly political. He probably falls a little bit more, to the right, because I'd say that just not because of any particular thing that I know about him, just because he seems sensible and, a nice guy. He, I believe he builds houses for people in places like Guatemala or wherever. He's he's a better person than I am. That's for damn sure. I love comics. Not familiar. Ryan Kelly. Now he's right wing, but he's far from any kind of alt right or radical or whatever. That Star Wars girl. She may be kind of slightly right leaning on some things, but she's definitely left leaning on others. Mecha Random 42 is definitely left leaning. Pretty much entirely, except for insofar as she's against SJWs. Jar Jar Abrams, not familiar with that channel. Overlord DVD, again, I think he mostly, like socially and whatnot, would lean left, but he's obviously a little bit right leaning because of anti-SJW and cancel culture and whatnot. Vito, I don't know offhand. The article itself said that he was kind of all over the place on his political leanings. Ethan Van Sciver is obviously, he's right-leaning essentially, but as he himself will point out, he's sufficiently mild in his right leanings that most right-wingers consider him a liberal. World-class bullshitters, I think they probably generally lean a little bit to the right on like policy issues and whatnot, but probably socially they're also kind of still a little bit left-leaning. SC Reviews, don't know about them. Midnight's Edge, pretty sure they're mostly neutral, probably slightly left-leaning. Mahler, probably slightly left-leaning. Nerdrotic, he's still left-leaning on some things, but right-leaning on others. But pretty centrist. Thor Skywalker, don't know. Clownfish TV, they are definitively left-leaning. The Critical Drinker, probably largely non-political, really, most of the time. Geeks and Gamers, like I said, Jeremy is somewhat right-leaning himself, but he employs a shit ton of people who are, it's like they're all over the place. Some of them are right, maybe even more right than him a little bit, but not far right, any of them. And some of the people he hires are pretty non-political centrist types, and quite a few of them are left-leaning. Even not. I don't think any of them are far left, but some of them are farther to the left than I personally would be comfortable with. And the Quartering, he's very slightly right-leaning, but he's very milquetoast. So the idea that any of these people on this fucking list are, some sort of alt-right recruiter tool or something, that's ridiculous. It's beyond stupid. It only indicates further that either this article is written by someone who is totally fucking stupid and doesn't know what they're talking about, or else they're very well aware what reality is, and they're simply lying to everybody. They're knowingly misleading everyone. Not sure which it is. It's hard to tell with leftists. Hard to tell whether they're just stupid or whether they're just a bunch of fucking liars. Sometimes they're both. Actually, most of the time they're both. The role of radicalization, which I think we've pretty much seen is not happening. not in any of the crap that they've outlined in this article, really. Americans, in particular, typically describe radicalization as some covert operation that happens discreetly in a remote part of the Middle East. However, this narrative is dangerously misleading and typically racist. Oh, of course. Americans are always racist. Yep. Radicalization into extremist political views can happen anywhere and to anyone. And it can be as easy as watching a few YouTube videos. No, it really can't. It really can't. No. Or rather, if it can, then you're so weak-minded that it's amazing you're not brain dead. Because if you watch a couple of videos and then you're like, I'm going to go fight for ISIS, my God, what is wrong with you? The Social Dilemma, a documentary by Center for Humane Technology, not familiar with them, but that sounds like bullshit, provides an example of alt-right, bullshit, radicalization wherein a young man becomes imbued with right-wing extremist ideology after being subjected to YouTube's algorithm. Don't forget the internet gas. I'm sure that had something to do with it, too. In the documentary, whatever the fuck that name is, French, maybe? I don't know. A former YouTube engineer explains that it worries me that an algorithm that I worked on is actually increasing polarization in society, but from the point of view of watch time, this polarization is extremely efficient at keeping people online. I don't know what you're talking about. What the hell is he talking about? Polarization is extremely efficient at keeping people online? People think that the algorithm is designed to give them what they really want, only it's not. The algorithm is actually trying to find a few rabbit holes that are very powerful. Try to find which rabbit hole is the closest to your interest. I don't believe that, because what I have personally seen, as I pointed out, is YouTube is trying to force me to watch something less interesting than what I'm after. It's like I'm watching, the various people on this list as well as various others, Hard Bastard, for instance. And it keeps on wanting me, or in the past when I was watching like Alex Jones and whoever else, more news-oriented stuff on YouTube back before a lot of it was purged, it kept on trying to get me to watch Ben Shapiro, who's, more, establishment shill, and Jordan Peterson, who's, kind of the same, the approved opposition. And even now, it will still try to get me to watch mainstream corporate media, whether it's a late night talk show clip or a, CBS or Fox News or some shit, news clip. It keeps on trying to get me to watch those things, and I don't want those things. I'm not interested. So, I don't believe that it's trying to find rabbit holes. Especially it's like, do you consider Fox News a rabbit hole? I suppose a leftist would, but okay, in that case, do you find Colbert to be a rabbit hole? Do you find fucking CBS to be a rabbit hole? Give me a fucking break. And if you start watching one of those videos, then it will recommend it over and over again. Well, I do notice that. It's like if you make the mistake of watching something just to be like, that's odd, I've never seen that recommended before, and then you fucking make the mistake of watching it, and it turns out, it's kind of boring, you'll find that it keeps on trying to get you to watch more of the same fucking shit. And it's like, no, I've tried that. Go away. In other words, YouTube is designed to keep the viewer interested in extremist hate once they get started. No, that's not, in other words, that's not what it means. What it means is YouTube is designed to keep you watching. It's not necessarily trying to give you what you want, but it's trying to interest you in something so that you keep fucking watching. That's what they want. They want your eyeballs. They don't care what you watch. Although increasingly they really want you to watch corporate media because corporate media is offering to pay them to promote their shit. Anyway, it becomes clear that society is currently dealing with a perfect storm, of highly effective technology building quicker than the average person can keep up with. Well, that's kind of true, although not in the context that you're trying to make people believe. And organized political hate campaigns, nope, that's a lie. These campaigns have been designed to exploit existing bigotry, no. Within society and the lack of education, wrong. Most people still have about the online spaces they spend so much time in. Again, trying to act like ordinary people are bigots and they're uneducated morons or whatever, blah blah blah. You typical lefty horseshit. The result is a fast-acting radicalization pipeline. No, that occurs without people noticing. No, it doesn't. It doesn't occur at all, much less without people noticing. This is how the pipeline works. No, it isn't. First, alt-right. No, there are no alt-right people on your list, except for Richard Spencer, and you haven't talked about him. Individuals who have already been radicalized from past organized hate movements, such as Comicsgate or such as Gamergate or Comicsgate. Again, neither of those are hate movements. Establish a platform on YouTube. They sit in spaces with a highly accessible on-ramp, like pop culture, film franchises, or video games. They then gain a following by emotionally appealing to their tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, of viewers. Most of them usually only have a few thousand regular viewers. Even the big channels, like Ethan Van Sciver. It's like he's doing good to pull in 2,000 people at a time. That's his core highly engaged audience. Even though he has, over 140,000 subscribers, it's like only 2,000 or so will ever, show up at one time. That they are being telling their audience that they're being oppressed by a culture and society wants to see them fail. Well, you don't need to be told that. The leftists definitely want everyone who isn't with them to fail. They ignite fear that viewers are losing their culture. Well, we are. We are losing our culture. It's essentially already lost, of course, but there's always the chance of building a new one. To an other, you, the leftist shitbirds. Some YouTubers, including The Quartering, explicitly refer to this as the battle for culture. Well, so what? It's like, if he's your chief thing to worry about, then you've got nothing to worry about because, like I said, he is weak and easily cowed. It's like, he is not any kind of threat to you, dude. Not at all. If The Quartering is your big person to worry about, then you might as well relax because you're going to be fine. Estimated total views by highly active or top engaged anti-The Last Jedi YouTubers. So The Quartering's got 462 million views. That somehow doesn't seem like a lot, considering all the fucking videos he's done. I don't know. Mahler. I was 2,000 subscribers before The Last Jedi came out. Over the past 10 months, I've met loads of great friends, been supported by a wonderful fan base, and created many videos I'm really proud of. Thank you all for listening, sharing my rants on media. Here's to the future. Heart. Mahler, 100,000. 100,000 subscribers. Well, congratulations to Mahler. I'm not sure when that happened. When was that? October 19th of 2018. That was a long time ago. It's probably way above that now. Yeah, alt-right associated account no, he's not alt-right. Fucking shut up with that shit. You don't know what alt-right even means, or else you do and you're fucking lying about it. Doesn't matter. Once viewers are locked into these networks, or locked in, it makes you sound like you're a fucking prisoner or something. Like, it's YouTube, people. Come on. There are multiple rabbit holes. Not really. That the viewer can be led down that can lead to increasingly extremist, misogynist, racist, and fascist views. No. None of the, it's like all these people you keep listing. They're not extremist. They're not misogynist. They're not racist, and they're not fascist. So you're totally wrong about all of this. Probably, you know that you're wrong. I'm leaning towards this is all a fucking lie. It's like I said, it's always possible when you're dealing with the leftists that they're just fucking stupid. But I'm really leaning towards no, they're lying. They know they're lying, and they're trying to lead everyone astray. For example, watching any Geeks and Gamers video on how white men are being shut out of Hollywood or how women are ruining pop culture can easily lead viewers to following the personal account of Geeks and Gamer channel D-Day Cobra. Yes, that would be Jeremy's personal channel where he gets much more political, but he's still, he's not alt-right, and he's really pretty tame. He's right-wing. Don't get me wrong, he's not like a centrist, but acting like, oh, he's some super extreme. No, he's not. Not even close. D-Day Cobra's channel is littered with radical right-wing videos. No, it's not. Not radical. Right-wing, yes. Radical, no. That express support for Donald Trump, yes. Nothing wrong with that. Trump support of the and Trump support for the Capitol insurrection. Okay, first of all, no, it's not an insurrection, and Trump never supported any violence. He specifically stated when he was addressing the crowd on the 6th that everything needed to be peaceful. So he specifically said be peaceful. He did not say to vandalize anything. And also, he was still giving his speech when they broke into the Capitol. So he didn't lead them. He wasn't the one who got them to do it. It's all bullshit. So all of that is a false narrative pushed by the left. He also uses this channel to advance fascist ideology. No, Jeremy is not a fascist. With videos titled, "The Media is the Enemy of the People." Okay, that's true. The media is the enemy of the people, and there's nothing fascist about pointing out that the collusion between big media and big government is fascism. That's a type of fascism right there. Calling it out is not fascist. My God. They are scared of Trump. He's the most popular, he's the most powerful, popular, and influential person on earth. It's not even close, and that terrifies them. Stay strong. Well, unfortunately, it wasn't enough. But yes, they were, and perhaps still are, scared of Trump. Trump was right. He warned us. In reality, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. That is true. That is absolutely correct. Yeah, and nobody should be on Parler, by the way. Parler it's a trap. It's a trap. No one should be involved with Parler. If you're going to be on something that is, at least at the time being, available for free, get on Gab. If you want actual free speech, or at least free political speech. Seeking out videos pushing hate against Kelly Marie Tran's character in The Last Jedi will lead you to a video by YouTuber Timcast. Okay, again, Timcast is not a YouTuber. Timcast is a channel. it is one of the channels. There's like 3 or something at least that he has of Tim Pool. Tim Pool is he's sort of he's sort of like some other leftists who've kind of been find themselves being referred to as though they're right wing now that they're still the same people they were, but the left has moved further and further to the left. But ultimately, Tim Pool is he is a fence sitter. He's a centrist. He's a pathetic little bitch who will never take a principled stand. You know. He sometimes talks like he will, but he really won't. So I have no use for him, and I don't recommend anybody else to subscribe to his channels or do have anything to do with him. It's pointless. He is not worth your time. Pushing hate. I don't think anybody's pushing hate against Kelly Marie Tran. And I don't think very few people are pushing any kind of hate against her character either. But certainly many people were not pleased with the way that the character, with the character's actions and just the way that that everything worked out in that movie. It's just crap. It's bad writing and so on and so forth. Argues that online backlash against the removal of Rose Tico from The Rise of Skywalker merchandise is a form of moral authoritarianism, likened back to the Puritans fleeing England to establish religious freedom. I don't know, and I don't really care. I don't think that it was at all. I mean, it does seem like J.J. Abrams removed Rose Tico's character from The Rise of Skywalker as though he was like, oh, people don't like this character, so let's let's essentially write her out of this movie. And it's like, it's not that people hated the character. People hated the character as she was presented in The Last Jedi. If you were to do something better and different with the character and present her as as much more likable, then people would like her fine. Anyway, Timcast is not an alt-right Star Wars or pop culture chat. I'm amazed that they're willing to say that. I'm surprised they're not lumping Tim Pool in with everybody else. None of these other people that they've mentioned as alt-right are alt-right either. But it's interesting that they finally said that about one of them. It is the YouTube channel of journalist Tim Pool, who has ties directly to Paul Joseph Watson. Oh my God. How dare you? The editor of right-wing extremist conspiracy theory site InfoWars. No, they're not really very extreme, and they're not really conspiracy theory oriented either. Who was banned from Facebook for hate speech. A lot of people have been banned from a lot of social media sites for quote-unquote hate speech. Basically, it just means you said something that they were able to take as being hateful, and they were in the mood to cancel you, so that or they got orders from whoever to cancel you, and it's like, oh, there we go, got an excuse, get rid of them. InfoWars is responsible for pushing damaging conspiracy theories that led to the election of Donald Trump. No, they didn't push conspiracy theories, and their coverage of real news may have assisted Donald Trump in getting elected, but they certainly weren't, like single-handedly responsible or anything. But before Trump was even elected, more and more people were really getting sick of the lies pushed by the mainstream media. We were all kind of becoming aware that corporate media was just giving us a line of shit about everything. And we were getting sick of it. And over the course of Trump's presidency, we've gotten way the hell more sick of it. Including coordinating with designated hate group. Yeah, there we go. Designated hate group. Yes, the Oath Keepers. The Oath Keepers, they're a militia group, and militia, it's like the mainstream media, I believe, recently has said some bullshit about how who was it CNN? I don't know. Somebody on CNN or wherever said some fucking bullshit about how uh, the militias are illegal, and it's like, no, they're not. There's nothing illegal about militias. Um, and of course, organize a capital insurrection. What's that's a link to? SPLC. Okay, so again, SPLC designates everybody that is in any way opposed to leftism or the leftist narrative or whatever as a hate group. Everybody gets designated a hate group by the SPLC. They themselves should be considered as a completely unreliable source of information on anything. And I dearly hope that I think they're I can't remember where they're based. Are they based in like Atlanta or something? I don't know. They're based someplace in the South. I'm pretty sure. Southern Poverty Law Center. I dearly hope that once the United States breaks apart, that whichever successor state they find themselves in will seriously consider rounding them up. Be like, you can't continue to run your bullshit organization here. It's like, we'll give you the option to leave, but we're shutting you the fuck down, one way or another. Blah 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 blah. And another example of how easy it is to be radicalized in spaces leading hateful sentiment against the Last Jedi videos from comic artist Pro Secrets often have plugs for 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Again, Ethan illustrated the book, so of course he's going to talk about it. Peterson, who has been called a custodian of the patriarchy, I wasn't aware, don't care, by the New York Times, and The Culture Wars Weapon X, that's ridiculous, by The Guardian, is a psychology professor from the University of Toronto. He is perhaps best known for claiming that progressive politics, including transgender rights and the Me Too movement, will lead society to Stalinism. That's a little ironic since supposedly his home is decorated with Soviet propaganda artwork, I believe. He seems to have some sort of obsession with the Soviet Union. And perhaps he's just a Russophile, a Russophile. I don't know. He did have to go to Russia for treatment instead of being treated here in the West. Peterson is especially dangerous because he disguises highly subjective and damaging transphobic, homophobic, racist, and misogynist ideology as self-help and reason for young men. All of that's essentially a lie. He's extremely milquetoast. Like I said, he's not the controlled opposition, but he is the approved opposition. He's not radical. He's not, it's like he's like Peterson and Rubin and Ben Shapiro and whoever the fuck else have been referred to as like the intellectual dark web. And essentially it's just like the reason why they're being labeled, and they're having bad things said about them, but they are at the same time essentially being, having the spotlight shown on them by the mainstream media, by the leftists. That's because they are the acceptable, approved opposition. They're the people that the left wants people to pay attention to on the right, because they know that if you actually pay attention to these guys, you're essentially not going to be that dangerous. Anyway. And like I said, Jordan Peterson is essentially insane, I think, seems to be. I think he's had some drug problems and whatnot. He's clearly not a well man. And I've already pointed out, why after that one video of his, debating William Lane Craig, that I was like, yeah, he's not to be trusted, not ever. So yeah, nobody should pay attention to Jordan Peterson. Nobody. He has nothing for you. If you want to laugh at him, okay, but but really he has nothing valuable to contribute to the conversation. while he claims not to associate with alt-right groups, he doesn't. He has many fans in those spaces, including Gavin McInnes. Gavin McInnes is not alt-right. Gavin McInnes is another. He's solidly right-wing, but he's also he's not nearly far right or radical right or extremist or anything like that. And he's remarkably milquetoast on a number of things. I mean, to give you an idea of how much of a basic bitch Gavin McInnes is, just consider this. He believes that Budweiser is truly the king of beers and the only beer that needs to exist. I mean, does that tell you something? Come on now. Founder far right militia group, the Proud Boys. It's not a militia group. I mean, they've sort of become a little bit more like that since he parted ways with them, but the Proud Boys are essentially just a men's club. They're also not far right. Right, but not far right. There are more paths to this designated hate group. Another one. Wait a minute, or is it the same one? It's the Proud Boys they're talking about, right? Yeah, SPLC. Proud. They're full of shit. Everybody they say is a hate group, not a hate group. No, just the good rule of thumb. If the SPLC says somebody's a hate group, they're not. SPLC is full of shit. They definitely need to be shut down. The SPLC needs to be done away with. Absolutely. Trump should have designated the SPLC as a hate group while he was in office. They're more than through Peterson. Many anti-The Last Jedi YouTubers cite a blog called Disney Star Wars as dumb. Well, it is. It is dumb. That's a good name. Ichibaka's a good dude, by the way. Go sub to Ichibaka. The blog is run by an unknown person under the pseudonym Ichibaka, who, among publishing a slew of white supremacist articles, not true, on their blog, I'm pretty sure he identifies as he. He has a YouTube channel, by the way. You can hear him speak. If he's a woman, he's a very, very butch woman. Of course, it could be all those cigarettes that he smokes. Publicly supported the Proud Boys on their Twitter account during the Capitol insurrection. Well, it was an exciting time. Many people felt like they should have barged in and basically told Congress what's what. Anyway, Ichibaka's site is a particularly dangerous rabbit hole. No, it's not. Because it gets to the heart of what hate against The Last Jedi in particular is really about. The battle to preserve white culture. I've listened to some of his videos and I've read some of his articles, and I don't remember anything specifically, talking about white culture or whatever. So it's just basically talking about, well, what, as it describes, it's like Disney Star Wars is dumb, which it is. I think, presumably like a lot of us, he's just a fan of actual Star Wars and is kind of pissed off that, we're having to put up with this bullshit. In one article, Ichibaka lays out a step-by-step guide written in conjunction with comic artist Pro Secrets, Ethan Van Sciver, and YouTubers World-Class Bullshitters, pardon me, about the phases of Geekergate. I hadn't heard about this, I guess. I don't remember that phrase. In the guide, Itchy discusses how to effectively push back the SJW hordes. Well, it's a good idea to push them back if you're able to. When media such as Star Wars, Star Trek, and Lord of the Rings begin to push established IP in a more diverse direction. Again, you're conflating things. It's not about diversity. Star Trek has always been diverse. Star Wars, not so much so. The there's not, although it became much more so with the prequels, it, and diversity in Star Wars is not, it's not a problem. Nobody cares. Now, diversity in Lord of the Rings, that actually is a problem, because Lord of the Rings, the setting is simply not one that lends itself to having a whole bunch of non-white characters. It's a very limited geographical area, and all of the humans and the hobbits and the elves are all white. They're all light-skinned. It's essentially it's an English European analog, basically. It's like, come on. There's not supposed to be diverse people. It's just, Middle Earth is just not a diverse place. It's a very small area, similar to Europe, with various different groups of light-skinned, Caucasian type people there. That's what it is. There aren't dark-skinned people in that area. That little corner of the world that Tolkien created. There's just not. And so trying to artificially make it diverse and be like, oh, well, so and so the elf, he's black, and it's like, no, he's not. None of these characters were black. None of these characters were brown. They were all white. If you don't like it, then write your own fucking Lord of the Rings, and don't call it Lord of the Rings, by the way. It's just write your own high fantasy and have it be as fucking diverse as you want it, and that's fine. But don't twist something that exists that's meant to be a certain way and try to, fit your ideology. That's not acceptable. Again, Star Wars, Star Trek, that's a different story. Those IPs do not, do not. They lend themselves to being diverse just fine, but Lord of the Rings does not. So leave Lord of the Rings alone. Of course, we already know they're not going to. Amazon is going to fuck it all to hell. Although, I guess the one good thing about it is that it will be a disaster, which will hopefully lose Amazon a shit ton of money. Perhaps they'll think differently next time. In the article, the alt-right, again, not alt-right, you don't know what you're talking about, is referred to as the customer base. While anybody who vocally praises representation in media is an SJW. No, they're referring to SJWs as SJWs. And that's what SJWs do. It's like they virtue signal. They're not virtuous people. They're not really, it's like they don't really care. It's all just an act. They're devoid of true virtue, and so all they can do is signal false virtue. The guide is laden with conspiracy theories. I doubt that, including that when an IP fails because it did not appease the customers, a false flag event is created. Wouldn't surprise me. The left enjoys their false flag events. According to Itchy, this false flag brings in a woman or member of the LGBTQ plus community to act as if they have been harassed. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I don't pay enough attention to know that for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me. I guess I should read this thing that he wrote, or maybe I should try to get on his channel sometime or something and talk to him about it, or just see if he's got some video that explains it. According to the Star Wars alt-right, again, no, there's no alt-righters, fuck off with that shit, YouTubers and bloggers, examples of this include the racist harassment against Kelly Marie Tran. That was a lie. That was all bullshit. Leslie Jones. That was not bullshit, but it was definitely overblown, which they claim never happened. Well, it didn't. I mean, the Kelly Marie Tran thing didn't happen. The Leslie Jones thing, she was harassed, but and undoubtedly some of it was probably racist. I don't know for sure, but probably it was. But it was, made out to be like, oh my God, it's so horrible and it's organized, and it's like, no, it's just a bunch of people were pissed off at you, and so they all kind of lashed out at once. It happens. It's you ought to be fucking used to it if you're going to be a famous person on social media. You should be prepared to ignore that kind of crap because it's going to happen sooner or later. The guide concludes that the push for representation in media is a conspiracy that is meant to destroy franchises. I don't know that it's a conspiracy. Wow, I just got a sudden sense of deja vu. That is weird. Like this paragraph right here that I'm starting to read. Weird. Anyway, I don't know that it's any kind of conspiracy meant to destroy franchises, but it's certainly succeeding in destroying franchises. I mean, this is. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, we already know. It's like we already fucking know what this is. This is the result of something the Soviets did. Seeds they planted decades ago to destroy America, and they succeeded. But the whole woke culture, SJW bullshit, all of that it's like it was started by political right. It's all started by the KGB, and they won. In the end, they essentially won. America is lost. But the SJWs they don't care about any of the franchises. Like they don't, it's like they're not true fans of anything. They don't, but they see it as some sort of, almost like a religious sort of thing, like a holy mission or whatever, to go and spread wokeness throughout the land. It's like this is what they do. Try to, they tell themselves that what they're doing, I guess, is the right thing. That they're crusaders for good or whatever, but they're not. It's like they're cultural vandals. They're locusts. They destroy one thing and then they move on to something else. And then they destroy that. They infest and destroy everything that they come across that people will allow them to get their hooks into. This is why we should not allow them to ever get a foothold. We should oppose SJWs at every turn. If you run a company, if you have any kind of business, never let them in. Never let these people dictate to you how to run your business. Never employ any of them. If you find that they've been hired, get rid of them as fast as possible. And get rid of the people who hired them too. Anyway, once a franchise has failed because it did not listen to the customers, and they're pretending like he means something else by customers, and almost certainly what he means is customers. And keep the franchise away from the influence of women, LGBTQ+, and people of color. No. I seriously doubt that he outlined, women, and gays and blacks or whatever all need to be kept out of it. I seriously doubt that he said that. I suspect he's just referring to SJWs, and yes, SJWs need to be kept out of it. The SJWs move on to the next franchise. Yeah, exactly. What did I just say? It's like I knew that without him having to say it to me. The next franchise and repeat the process until every IP has been bled dry. Essentially, yes. Like I said, I don't know for sure how organized an effort it really is, but it's definitely what they're doing. This process, Itchy asserts, is all part of the cultural civil war. The article then goes on to list countermeasures, including contacting shareholders, contacting merchandise management, boycotting and starting boycotts, encouraging inside leaking of information about the IP, pitting creatives and celebrities against each other and against fans, and monetizing hate. I wouldn't count on that being a direct quote, but if he's actually proposing like courses of action for actual fans to take, it'd probably be a good idea for us to consider doing that. I mean, I've never been one for doing a whole lot of stuff because I just kind of figured that it's pointless. They're gonna, they're never gonna listen to us really anyway. So, but I ordered a Coke, but they gave me Dr. Pepper. Oh well, I mean, I like both anyway. So, let's see. Eric July does say monetize your haters. People who hate you, monetize them. The blog also has articles comparing Lucasfilm's alleged hatred of straight white Christian males to propaganda tactics used by the USSR. Well, we've just talked about that a little bit, haven't we? Additionally, the blog has an assembled timeline of over 90 articles claiming to catalog all instances in which Lucasfilm was hateful towards white males, including articles that aided in the harassment of women of color employees at Lucasfilm, Justina Ireland and Christina Ariel. I can't remember for sure what it was that they were doing, but it seems like I do remember somebody talking about them on YouTube about they were doing some bullshit, but I'm sure if they're SJWs, I'm sure they were up to some bullshit. And again, it's like they always want to conflate this and be like, oh well, if you're attacking women, it's because you hate women. It's like, no, just that particular woman that we're attacking. We don't like her because she's a problem, because she's destroying something that we care about. Oh, you're attacking a black, person, woman, man, whichever. That's because you're racist. And it's like, no, it's because that particular one that we're going after, that we're calling out, is a piece of shit. It's, like I said, it's just like fucking David Pakman being like, oh, you're calling out George Soros, that means you're you're an anti-Semite. It's like, no, I'm not. The hate found within this blog doesn't sound like hate to me. And its mission to protect culture for the true customers. Well, yeah, I mean, the people who have been fans of Star Wars and whatnot for fucking ever, all our lives we've been fans. It's like, I mean, it may be true that we don't own it, but it's been a part of our lives. You can't expect us to just act like, oh, it doesn't matter. When people have developed an emotional attachment to something, rightly or wrongly, it's like they care about it and they want it protected from vandalization. Of the IP echoes the thoughts of Michael Thompson, Paul Kersey within the pages of VDare. I wouldn't know. Again, have no fucking clue what VDare is. Shortly after the release of The Last Jedi, Thompson continued to push racist hate against the Star Wars sequel trilogy in an article entitled The Last Jedi Are Whites Getting the Message That Disney Doesn't Want Them? Well, if they didn't then, they probably have by now. Thompson writes, the left dominates the culture. Yeah, that they have. We shouldn't have allowed that, but they have. But it does not yet completely control it. Hence, for example, the war on Christmas resistance. The left keeps on pretending there's never been a war on Christmas, but there really kind of has been. Gamergate and the course and of course the election of Donald J. Trump. Now, Star Wars Episode 8, fuck, The Last Jedi, released in mid-December to resounding applause from mainstream media reviewers, is tanking, well behind the 2015 Star Wars movie The Force Awakens. It may not be a border wall, but it's something. Thompson here implies that The Last Jedi not making as much money as The Force Awakens is proof of the successful backlash against the film. I don't know about that. It's proof that they were going in the wrong direction with Star Wars, which he establishes as whites keeping white culture, culture safe from the invasion of the left. Well, he may describe it that way. I wouldn't necessarily call it specifically white. American. Of course, America's always had at least a small black population. Whites keep. I wouldn't call it that. But invasion of the left. It's like, yeah. That the left, it's like they don't really contribute. Occasionally leftists contribute, and in the past, leftists actually contributed a lot of things to culture, but these days they don't. These days they really only destroy things. They don't really create all that much themselves, or if they do, what they create is garbage. It's garbage tier writing, as we've been discussing all along. As the cultural war changed to being overtly anti-white, it's definitely become that in the last few years. So the good guys of Star Wars became more diverse and non-white. I don't know. Maybe that was on purpose. Honestly, I don't really care about that. Some people may see it as some sort of like important symbol of something. I don't. I consider it's just a movie, and it's like I care that the characters are well written, and none of them were. It's like the bad guys were badly written, the good guys were badly written. It was just badly written all around. I kept wanting Finn to basically like become the hero, to become the main character. It's like I was like, come on, please, just give it to us. Come on, throw us a fucking bone here. But nope, they would not treat his character properly. And especially after the end of the first film, when he actually fights Kylo Ren with the fucking lightsaber, that should have been the direction it went. It should have shifted from, like if I were gonna try to do a quick rewrite or something, I think I would have like the Last Jedi would have gone totally differently, and what would have happened there, I think, is you would have want to talk about subverting expectations. I would have subverted expectations by taking the Claire Mary Sue character of Rey and having her actually fall to the dark side and become Snoke's new apprentice, and have Finn turn out to be a force sensitive as well, and then Luke trains him to be the hero, and he has to face off against Rey. I would have done that. I think that would have been much more interesting. It was certainly nobody would have expected that to happen. Indeed, the multicultural, diverse band of seemingly social justice space warriors. A pink-haired Laura Dern. Yeah, I'm sure there was a way to do that character that would have been good, but they chose not to. Assuming control of the resistance forces is perhaps a gratuitous embodiment of the left in 2017. Yeah, it kind of seems like it, doesn't it? It's too bad, because I liked her in Jurassic Park. Occupying a galaxy far, far away was clearly a primary selling point to MSM reviewers. Could be, could be. I mean, that, anyway. Of course, like I said, who gives a shit what they think? One of the last to understand the new racial hierarchy is Luke Skywalker himself, the actor Mark Hamill. He has very publicly denounced the new direction, saying, "I fundamentally disagree with virtually everything you've decided about my character." Yeah, like I said, I think he was quite shocked. Obviously, Hamill does not understand that the blonde, blue-eyed Jedi Knight he portrayed on film is unacceptable in our more tolerant SJW-approved world. Yeah, that is an issue. The fact that Americans seem to be tuning out and rejecting this message is cause for hope. Yeah, it is, somewhat. I mean, America is, I believe, at this point doomed, but, what comes afterwards hopefully will be better. In other words, as diversity moves into pinnacles of Western culture, again, you keep on talking about diversity as though it's fundamentally a good thing just in and of itself, and it's not. Historically, diversity plus proximity has always equaled war. Sorry, but that's true. Wish it wasn't, but it is. Culture like Star Wars, white supremacists. Thompson may be a white supremacist. Don't know enough about him to say, but all these other people that you keep calling white supremacists are not. Believe that its intention is to destroy the dominance in culture held by white people. Diversity in media establishes what Thompson refers to as the new racial hierarchy. Well, and I'm not sure what's going on with the left these days. I mean, they have had it's not so much a racial hierarchy; it's an oppression hierarchy. At least for a while, trans people have kind of been at the top of their oppression pyramid or whatever. I'm sure the black people were on the top at one point. I think trans people kind of became the top. It seems like Asians are now being asserted as being really important on their oppression hierarchy as well. The funny thing is, I think that the constantly shifting narrative that they're trying to do, I think it's going to help more people to understand that the whole thing is complete and utter horseshit. I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen. Just when black people thought it was safe to attack Asians and get away with it, it's like, oh, narrative's changing. Oh man, it's funny. It's funny to watch. It's going. If you're far enough away from the fire, it's going to be funny to watch it all burn down. Sadly, probably none of us are going to be entirely removed from the fire, but be ready, folks. Be ready. It's going to be an interesting ride. All right. The hate pushed against the film is a way of reclaiming and maintaining the traditional racial hierarchy. Nobody I'm sure that what you mean by that is like, oh, white people want to be supreme or whatever. It's like, I hope you realize that the vast majority, there's like, how many members of the KKK are there? There's not very many. There's like 2,000 or something active members, or maybe it's a few more than that by now. I don't know. Yeah, but it's a few thousand, active members, and that's it across the entirety of the United States with 350 million population or whatever. It's a drop in the fucking bucket. The vast majority, it's just like, people being like, oh, I'm being so oppressed because I'm gay. It's like, most people don't fucking care that you're gay. Not anymore. Most people don't care. And trying to be like, oh, all the white people, they want to be on top. They want to be, dominant. They want to be, the supremacists or whatever. It's like, that's not true. The vast majority of all white people don't fucking care. They're happy to treat everybody as equals. What they don't want is for everybody to shit on them, on us, as though, that's okay. Like, it's okay to treat us like crap as long as everybody else gets treated well. Make us the second-class citizens. That's what we will not accept. We will not accept that. And anybody who thinks that, that's how it's going to go, it's like, oh, we're going to get to treat the white folks like second-class citizens and just get away with it forever. You best think again. We're not going to take that shit lying down. Thompson identifies anybody who believes in maintaining white culture as Americans. Well, I've already pointed out that true Americans, which I myself wouldn't even qualify as, are heritage Americans. They're the descendants of the original colonists who formed a new nation. Yeah, which they're all English, essentially. I mean, I guess there's a tiny handful of Dutch or whatever, but essentially, America was founded as an English nation. That's why, even like the Irish and the Italians, they may be, European, they may be white, but they don't really integrate because this is an English nation. And I'm mostly English, I think, on my dad's side of the family, but on my mother's side of the family, I'm mostly French with some German. So I don't even qualify as a true American. So most people don't. Most white people don't qualify as a true American. You could, you could potentially even argue that that the descendants of the original slaves or whatever are more true American, than many of us are. Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't it's America. The United States as a united political entity is lost. It's already too late. So we're gonna have to forge something new. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Let's see. Where the fuck was I? Much like Ichibaka calls alt-right again. No, oh, pardon me. Much like Ichibaka calls alt-right fans crusading against the supposed hatred of the white Christian male customers. I'm guessing he doesn't actually refer to anybody being alt-right. That's a label that you're applying, and when he says customers, he means customers. That's like people, it's like somebody says you people, and somebody says, what do you mean you people? It's like, oh, yeah. The reaction like that, probably the you people is assholes. Anyway, this is why we must take these people seriously. We shouldn't take you people seriously. You leftist dipshits who write articles like this, we shouldn't take you seriously. We should understand that you're liars, propagandists, but shouldn't take any of your accusations as having any merit. Underneath almost every angry YouTuber who could be dismissed as a troll or a disgruntled nerd, well, probably most of them are, or perhaps they're not even that bad, there is a powerful system of hate, no, and oppression, no, that resides at the core of the most racist institutions in the United States. No. All lies. The hate against The Last Jedi is yet another way vitriolic backlash against non-white culture. as I said, you can have a multi-ethnic society as long as it has a unified culture. American culture, it isn't, doesn't have to be white culture. It can be, it just be American culture that all the different people in America embrace. But you can't have that because the left pushes multiculturalism. So they've gotten, well, they've gotten their way, and it's it's not going to ultimately have the result that they were hoping for. They're hoping for the United States to remain intact and for them to be in charge of it all. It's not going to work out that way. Their desperate push to always have their way is going to wind up disintegrating the country, and and some of the successor states, the left is going to probably find themselves in the distinct minority, and they may want to run for a friendlier territory because they're not going to like living under right-wing rule, even though by nature the right wingers will be less authoritarian than the left. It allowed to radicalize teens and young men and women on one of the biggest social media platforms on the internet. Yeah, basically a bunch of horseshit. And this hate was unknowingly allowed to spread until it was accepted as the truth. No, the truth spreads. The truth spreads. It's not, you want to brand the truth as hate because you hate the truth. How far right hate turns into fact. Oh my God, how much longer do we have to deal with this bullshit? So, how did a small concentrated group on YouTube become representative of the entire population of people who ever saw The Last Jedi? There are several ways this happened, and they include 1. An alarming media culture that puts profits over facts. 2. The use of socks, bots, and super users. Yeah, the left always likes to claim that, or Russian bots or something are doing something because they want to pretend like things that they don't like are not as popular as they really are. Hashtags and boycotts, and 3 hashtags and boycotts, and 4, a lack of education. Yes, everybody who doesn't agree with them is ignorant and uneducated, of course, about how to navigate online spaces, especially those under political attack. The dangers of clickbait headlines. Pop culture entertainment journalism, in particular, is rife with sensationalist headlines that have nothing to do with what the audience actually thought about a particular group of media. The most infamous culprits of this are pop culture sites like Screen Rant. They're just you're going after Screen Rant? God. And Comic Book Resources, both owned by ValNet, a company that doesn't produce journalistic integrity but instead produces clicks. I got news for you, dude. There's no such thing as journalistic integrity. I mean, do you think you're performing that? Because you're not. You're a lying propagandist. There's, as I already said, there's no such thing as true journalism, and there probably never really was, but there certainly isn't today. Respectable outlets. Yeah, and there are no respectable outlets either. I mean, anything you're going to try to brand as a respectable outlet, it just means that, you agree with them. Respectable outlets for pop culture journalism are seemingly changing their strategies to keep up with the damage companies like ValNet have done to the industry. For example, coverage on the season finale of WandaVision, that was rather disappointing. And no, it wasn't because, my fan theory. I mean, it had its moments, Vision sort of de-escalating with himself. That was pretty cool, actually. I mean, the fight was kind of cool, but the fact that they actually, talked it out in the end, that was even more cool. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of people seem to think that a big superpower fight to the finish is what everybody wants. It's what everybody should want. We just want the special effects extravaganza or some shit. And it's like, no, we want a good story. And a lot of times, a fight being ended just by people talking and coming to an agreement is actually a much cooler story. From the Washington Post and the Hollywood Reporter gave time to their... Although I should point out, I guess, as this is a Star Wars article, I should point out that it needs to be sort of tailored to whatever your franchise you're talking about. Star Wars really kind of needs to end with the bad guys getting blown the fuck up or whatever. Star Trek, for instance, it's like that's much more appropriate to have people talk, and come to an agreement or something. Anyway, the Washington Post and the Hollywood Reporter gave time to the disappointment from very online What? Wait a minute. Coverage of the on the season finale of WandaVision from the Washington Post and the Hollywood Reporter gave time to the disappointment from very online pockets of fans. What the fuck? I don't understand. That's the weird phrasing. Were upset. They're upset their theories were not included in the finale. No, fuck you. It is not about that. That's a standard leftist SJW fucking thing to be like, oh, the only reason you didn't like it is because it didn't, meet your theories or whatever. Your theories didn't pan out. No, that is not the problem, you fuckwads. The Hollywood Reporter's review claims that the episode divided fans. It probably did to some degree, which implies that the finale currently sitting at an 8.6 rating on IMDb is somehow polarizing. You do realize that it's possible for things to be divisive without it being an even split down the middle, right? Tell me you understand that. I suppose not. I mean, this article seems to be written by somebody who doesn't understand just basic shit. And certainly knows nothing about the esoteric stuff that they're talking about. The reality is these fans are just a few thousand entitled nerds. Fuck you. And in the case of WandaVision, these are mostly just entitled nerds. Again, fuck you. Who do not represent the fan population of a multi-billion-dollar franchise. They probably represented a little bit better than you expect them to, but it doesn't matter. I don't personally care all that much about WandaVision. It was kind of interesting. I was never really that into comic books or anything, so I don't know nearly as much about it as some people do. The same tactic happened to The Last Jedi. Oh, God. Where coverage fervently claimed that the film was unexpectedly polarizing, hated, and divisive. It sucked. Who gives a shit whether it was polarizing or divisive or whatever? It sucked. It was objectively a bad movie. Bad writing, plot holes, et cetera, et cetera. It was shit. All of the Disney Star Wars films essentially have been shit. The Last Jedi is one of the worst offenders, but it's certainly not the only one. While the articles themselves are typically quick to point out that the backlash is from a minority of fans, the majority of people only read headlines. Well, the majority of people are normies who they just go and they watch and they at the explosions. And like I said, that's the one good thing you can say about the Last Jedi. The only good thing, really, that I can say about it is that the special effects were pretty fucking cool. Socks, bots, and super users. Undoubtedly, this is going to be another section with some bullshit in it. In October 2018, several publications reported that 50% of hate against The Last Jedi was the result of Russian trolls. Yep, Called it. Everything that happens is because of Russian bots. You know, that's bullshit. The left loves to blame the Russians for every goddamn thing, when in fact, the one thing the Russians are actually guilty of, as we know, like I said, mentioned the guy from the KGB, the Russians are responsible for these fucking woke dipshits on the left and their crusade to destroy culture and destroy Western civilization, which they have essentially succeeded at. That's the fault of the Russians. So we can blame the Russians, or at least we can blame the KGB and the Soviets for our present predicament. But I don't recommend blaming the current Russian government, even though Vladimir Putin was a KGB dude. Because Russia, they're not really that bad, guys. They're not really that much of a threat either. We're supposed to hate the Russians, but it's like you should be concerned about the CCP. About China. They're much more of a threat. The Russians are they're pretty based. I don't approve of their anti-gay legislation, but it's up to them to do what they think is right for themselves, and they're probably going to be around long after we're gone. Russians, the Russians are a very hardy people. They're survivors. These headlines were misleading. Trolls and bots have played a part in hate against The Last Jedi, likely as much as trolls and bots play a role in anything making rounds in the Twitterverse. Yeah, keep telling yourself that. It is true, however, that bots did have an impact on hate spread to individuals involved with The Last Jedi, including director Rian Johnson. Morton Bay, a research fellow at the University of Southern California, USA, analyzed replies to tweets made by Johnson. Bay concluded that 50% of negative tweets toward Johnson were bots, trolls, or sock puppets that were likely used for political purposes. Well, first of all, I don't believe you, and secondly, I don't care. While bots and socks... starting to sound like a Dr. Seuss book. Be careful, you'll get canceled. Can play a part in political attacks. It is important to realize that the hate is mostly homegrown and is carried out by real hateful individuals. Oh, of course, we'll blame the bots for all kinds of shit, but we won't blame them for hate. Though that's cis white males or something. In a study by University of Rochester professor Bethany Lacina, an analysis of tweets from Star Wars fans concluded that conversation about Star Wars fans on Twitter was increasingly abusive and harmful when talking about marginalized groups. Oh, fucking shut up with that. God damn. She concludes that this hate mostly came from real people and not from bots. Blah, 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 blah. Don't care. Dan Morell of popular YouTube channel Honest Trailer noted on Twitter that he's never seen a response like the response he got on their Honest trailer for The Last Jedi. He mentions that over 1,500 comments were flagged for being aggressive or abusive. These comments were likely real people. After 5+ years working on Honest trailers, I've never seen a response like we got in The Last Jedi trailer, not just disliking the film, but the hatred some of them have. I just want to find some of these folks and show them how big the world is. There's so much more. Well, when you love something like Star Wars, admittedly, people shouldn't be as fucking obsessed with Star Wars as they are. But when you have something that's been a part of your life and you have a considerable emotional attachment to it, and then somebody does something as abhorrent to it as Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi, I don't think it's all that surprising that you had so many people amazingly fucking pissed off about it. Darkside, over 1,500 comments have already been flagged on The Last Jedi Honest trailer for being aggressive or abusive. Well, people are expressing their feelings, so what? Lightside, a few insightful comments on today's trailer commentary have given me genuine food for thought on some of my issues with the movie. No, it doesn't feel like it, but we're making progress. Sure. Sure, dude. Hashtags and boycotts. Oh my god. Another popular method for how hate is made to look bigger than it actually is the use of hashtags and boycotts. These tags are usually pushed by a small but dedicated group of users. For example, this feels like gaslighting to a certain extent. And trying to make out like, oh, people who didn't like the bullshit Disney Star Wars crap, there's not as many of you as you like to think. Trying to belittle the people that, probably quite rightly feel like they have, kind of scored some points against Disney. For example, a hashtag going around Twitter after the release of The Last Jedi was the tag Last Jedi Awful. It was. It was awful. It was used to express negative opinions about the film. You don't say. The tag is featured in one of the top tweets mentioning The Last Jedi between December 2017 and November 2018. Francis Carnacom. Interesting. Last Jedi Awful. Last Jedi. Irritant of the day. Let's make the entire plot of Episode 7 irrelevant by tossing the lightsaber over Luke's shoulder. That'll show 'em I'm bravely going in a new direction for the series. Puke. Yeah. I mean that's a very good tweet. That's a very decent way to point it out. I mean that is part of the problem. It's like, I'm sorry. The Last Jedi was just utter shit. I thought The Rise of Skywalker was any better, but honestly, The Force Awakens was not good. A lot of people mistakenly thought that it was good, but it's really not. But I suspect that if you could ever get an honest answer out of J.J. Abrams, I think you'd find that even he, was really kind of not happy with Rian Johnson over what he did. Damn it. Okay. However, the tag itself was not popular. Sure it wasn't. As of February 2021, there are only 6,435 mentions of Last Jedi Awful tag by only 736 accounts. 84% of the top 25 accounts by most tweets tweeted with the hashtag associated with the alt-right. Again, that's almost certainly a lie because you don't fucking know what the hell you're talking about when you say alt-right. All top users tweeted the hashtag over 50 times. User Vexer4000 tweeted the hashtag over 900 times. Oh, well, good for them. Chewbacca. I think I'm probably following him. Uh, he's probably the only one on there that I'm actually following. I'm not familiar with any of the others offhand. Another hashtag pushed by this group was a hashtag created in 2018 calling for fans to boycott Solo, a Star Wars story, primarily because of Disney's failure with The Last Jedi. Like Last Jedi Awful, the tag is only mentioned 4,713 times by 896 accounts. 72% of the top 25 users tweeting the hashtag by a number of tweets are from alt-right accounts. Again, that's a lie because you are, you're branding people as alt-right and they're not. The top user tweeting the hashtag is Ichibaka, who tweeted the tag 612 times versus the 278 times the blogger tweeted the Last Jedi Awful tag. Good for Ichibaka. Boycotts are featured on Ichi's list of countermeasures to combat the spread of diversity in media. Again, somehow I suspect he's not actually saying we want to stop the spread of diversity. I suspect that's not what he actually refers to. I'll be very surprised if he does. Top 25 users finishing blah 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 blah. Oh. Oh. THX 1137 or 1337. Pardon me. What is it? 1138. That's the George Lucas's thing, right? Yeah. Right? I think. God, it's been so long since I even thought about that. Oh, Odin's movie blog. Okay. There's somebody else that I know. I don't think I'm subscribed. I don't think I follow him or subscribe to his movie channel. But he's on Friday Night Tights with Gary Nerdrotic. But that's all I know there. It can be argued that small but concentrated hashtags like these have been successful. While hashtag campaigns have no real impact on the box office, they can impact the narrative. Well, if they have no impact on the box office, then what are you worried about? Esquire points out, another trusted source, 2018 article that after the release of Solo, Disney completely refocused its future plans. While it would be a stretch to imagine that Trolls directly affected the direction of a multi-billion-dollar franchise, yeah, it couldn't possibly be that the franchise is being mismanaged, which is what the supposed Trolls have been telling you. There's no denying that the executives at Disney have taken note of this narrative. They've taken note of the fact they lost money. Although, really, part of the reason why Solo lost money is because of Kathleen Kennedy firing the director or directors or whatever and having to have Ron Howard come in and finish it up. Lots of reshoots cost a lot more money. I don't know how much it added, but it added a lot to the cost of making the fucking thing. So anyway, Solo is the only Star Wars movie considered to be a flop. It released in theaters several weeks after the highly successful Avengers event Infinity War. Good movie. Which can impact enthusiasm for a movie that is highly likely to have considerable audience overlap. There's not really that much considerable overlap between Marvel and Star Wars. There's some, but not nearly as much as I'm sure you'd like us to think to push your narrative that, there were other reasons. That's why it lost. No. Your biggest problem is what I already said, is the fact that Kathleen Kennedy was fucking shit up behind the scenes. Disney's former CEO Bob Iger has stated that Solo's performance was due to releasing the film too quickly. Yeah, that's bullshit. Another problem with the Han Solo origin film is it didn't quite know who it was for. The crowd clamoring for nostalgia and a taste of 1977 missed important Factors like Harrison Ford playing the iconic character, no shit, and an origin story about a character who was in his prime in the 70s and 80s wasn't necessarily appealing to new fans who had been brought in by the sequel trilogy. I don't think you're getting a whole lot of new fans brought in by the sequel trilogy. You're losing instead your old fans because you're proving to them that this is not the Star Wars you're looking for. God. I mean, hardcore Star Wars fans, of course, already knew the backstory to the character and didn't appreciate the backstory being changed, a bunch of, crap that doesn't belong being added in, and Corellia itself being retconned to be, some weird shithole. However, instead of reflecting on how to balance the value of nostalgia with the need to branch out into new and growing movie-going demographics, it appeared that Solo's box office was being blamed on hate against The Last Jedi. Well, I mean, that is certainly one of the major factors against Solo, of why Solo didn't do so well, is because people saw The Last Jedi and they're like, man, this sucks. Now, I know you really desperately want to pretend like there's nothing wrong with The Last Jedi, that it's a good movie and there's just evil people that wanted to hate it just, because of diversity or whatever. That's not true. It's a bad film. I'm sorry that you just don't want to accept that, but it's true. Look, all leftists have a problem with accepting the truth, but they would do well to make a start at accepting the truth, because you can only avoid it for so long. The truth is always going to catch up with you. And I realize that most leftists tend to be secular, and so they don't believe in God, but news for them. He's real. You're going to stand before him and be judged. That day is coming for all of us. You can't escape it. And even before that, you're probably not going to be able to escape some painful realities of this world and this life. If you start accepting how things really are rather than how you really wish that they would be, you'll be better off. But I don't expect you to. I've been there. I was a leftist. I remember what it was like to lie to myself. Still had that voice in the back of my head saying, this is bullshit. If you've got that voice, start paying attention to it. Start listening. It's trying to help you out. Shortly after the release of the film, headlines began to ask, is Last Jedi the reason fans are skipping Solo? That's not the only reason, but it's part of the reason. These articles reported on Ron Howard's Twitter activity, where he retweeted and interacted with several tweets suggesting that the bad result of Solo was due to hate of The Last Jedi. This narrative was likely impacted by Twitter users seeing the Boycott Solo hashtag campaign. It's a fantastic addition to the Star Wars franchise, and I hope fans get to see it on the big screen after a couple viewings at the cinema. I'm looking forward to owning it on 4K Blu-ray. Okay, that sounds like a pathetic fanboy. It's kind of cringy. Thanks for all the great tweets. Glad you guys are enjoying Solo Star Wars Story. Seeing it in theaters, very gratifying. Now, a lot of people are still upset about The Last Jedi, but this movie is separate with a great group of people. It's debatable. I judged this movie solely on what this movie had to offer. I was greatly impressed and had a lot of fun. Everyone should ignore the negativity and see it for yourself. I've been reading so many theories as to why Solo hasn't been doing so well at the box office. Sad to say, some Star Wars fans are snubbing Solo because they're still upset over Last Jedi. If so, they're missing out and punishing a good film for something not its fault. I'm proud of Solo: A Star Wars Story, and the cast and crew worked hard to give fans a fun new addition. As a director, I feel badly when people who I believe, and exit polls show, will very likely enjoy a movie, don't see it on a big screen with great sound. I don't think we missed that much. I didn't see it in the theater, but I saw it later, and, It really wasn't very good. I mean, it wasn't terrible, It certainly, it had its moments, but yeah, it like so much that Disney has done, it wasn't Star Wars. Rogue One was probably the closest Disney has come to making a true Star Wars film, but even it wasn't there. It came close, but it wasn't there. The idea that Disney's bottom line was now being severely impacted by Last Jedi hate was also spread by influential reactionary right-wing and alt-right accounts. Again, with the, labeling bullshit. In the top tweets mentioning The Last Jedi in 2018, a few tweets are about Solo's box office result. D-Day Cobra, on his since suspended account, tweeted, "Why Solo failed?" That would be Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. 1. The Last Jedi. 2. Lucasfilm's blind denial of The Last Jedi backlash. 3. Lucasfilm's attack on the fans. 4. Rian Johnson is an asshole. 5. Kathleen Kennedy. 6. Identity politics. Nobody wanting this film was a reason, but it's the least relevant reason. Oh, nobody wanting this film is a reason, but it's not the least relevant reason. Yeah, he's right. He's pretty much right on all those counts. The Last Jedi, Lucasfilm denying that there was backlash, Lucasfilm attacking the fans, Rian Johnson being an asshole. He definitely was. He's a piece of shit. Kathleen Kennedy, yeah, she's a problem. And identity politics sucks all around. It always does. And people try to, take that and conflate that with, oh, you hate diversity. No, we hate identity politics. It's not the same goddamn thing. Ben Shapiro also passed similar sentiment around Twitter, claiming that the biggest problem with, I can't do his voice, the biggest problem with Solo is that Disney blew it so badly with The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Yeah, he's right. I mean, I don't especially like agreeing with Ben Shapiro on anything really, but sometimes I guess you have to agree. I will have a full breakdown on tomorrow's show. Suffice it to say that the biggest problem with Solo is that Disney blew it so badly with The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Imagine if they'd recast and just picked up after Return of the Jedi instead of killing Han and Luke off. Yeah. I mean, if they had recast the main characters and, done like the Thrawn trilogy, that would have been awesome. It might not have been ideal, but it would have been fucking awesome, and it would have been way the fuck better than what we got. It is difficult to say for sure if any executives at Disney or Lucasfilm believe that Solo's poor box office was due to alleged backlash of The Last Jedi, but it did become a narrative online regardless. Well, I think it's definitely true. I mean, it's only part of the reason, but it is part of the reason. So please don't pretend like it's not. Anyway, lack of education about the dangers of online conversation. Now, here's the part where they don't want anybody talking. Don't want people talking online. No, you might be guilty of wrongthink. The biggest reason why politically driven hate, again, not hate, can spread so easily is simply the lack of education around how internet spaces work. Well, why don't you left-splain for us, you piece of shit? For starters, it's important to understand that everything you experience online cannot be used to discuss the opinions of the population. What? Internet spaces are specifically tailored to you. Not all of them. Whether that be the opinions you see on Twitter, the ads you see on Facebook, or the searches you see on Google. Yeah, a lot of times though they're tailored to push leftist propaganda on us, which we don't want. No matter how much we tell the likes of Google and whoever, fucking take your leftist horseshit and shove it up your ass, they still try to push it on us. We live in a time where the more time you spend online, the less informed you become about the truth. That is not true. It depends entirely upon who you're listening to. If you're listening to leftists and their propaganda horseshit, then yeah, you don't know the truth. Like the person who wrote this article either doesn't know the truth or else they do and they're deliberately lying about it. Yeah. I mean, admittedly, I knew quite a number of things without being online, but being online has certainly been assistive in learning the truth. Although it's becoming more difficult, I must admit, because like you'll know more about whether something's a real word, for instance, if you own a print dictionary from several decades ago and you can look things up yourself. Whereas if you try to look things up now, you'll find that they keep on adding made-up bullshit words to the dictionary. You know, like BIPOC. Jesus. The destruction of language. That's another Soviet tactic, I believe, isn't it? It's a world where YouTube and Facebook are common places for Americans to get news, which are often from misleading or incorrect sources. Well, that's a matter of opinion, really, because you would have us believe that CNN is a good source of news, but anybody who has actually looked into it has by now probably discovered that CNN lies virtually nonstop, and they have been for decades been lying to us. So the mainstream media is basically just a bunch of fake news, and that includes Fox. You're more likely to get the truth from somebody like InfoWars. That doesn't mean they're always going to be accurate, but they're more likely to be because they're not trying to push the mainstream narrative on you. You have to view everything with some skepticism, but I would much, I'd be much more trusting of various independent people on, on YouTube or wherever to try to report on things that are going on than I would be to listen to the mainstream media. But I mean, it's a good rule of thumb at this point that whatever the official story is a lie. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it's about. Whatever the likes of CNN and MSNBC and NBC and ABC and CBS and whoever else are reporting, whatever the hell they're reporting is almost certainly false. Not sure exactly how false it is. Not sure, what about it is a total lie or just a slight twisting of the truth. But it's a good bet that whatever they're telling you is indeed fake news. It's sad that that is the world in which we live, but it is. Uh, anyway, not understanding the tight control around online spaces can make it easier for organized groups to manipulate a narrative. Yeah, the most organized manipulation of narrative comes from the mainstream media. Review bombing, we've already talked about, that's a lie. Mass downvoting are two common examples. That is also bullshit. It's like people mass downvote things because they don't like it, and you try to say that, oh, it's somehow that's fake or whatever. Alt-right, again, lie. Groups often organize on YouTube to downvote videos that are a threat to their political agenda. No, they're just they're just trolling or simply expressing their the fact that they don't like something. For example, in April 2020, people in alt-right conspiracy communities, almost certainly a lie, attacked an ad for the Microsoft HoloLens, an augmented reality headset. The ad features artist Marina Abramovic and her experience utilizing AR tech to bring her art to life. Yeah, she's the spirit cooking bitch. Yeah, creepy shit that the high-up leftists are into. When the ad caught the attention of conspiracy networks who believe it to be a Satanist with a connection to politicians. Well, she does have connections to politicians. I don't know if she's a Satanist or not. It wouldn't surprise me, though. I mean, for one thing, I think in 2016, a lot of people were kind of weirded out by the fact that she's so well preserved, because she's really old. Like, she's in her 70s or something, and she does not look even, at the time she looked like maybe she's in her 40s. Like, that's a little, I've seen people who have aged really gracefully, but that's really stretching it, to that kind of disparity in your looks versus your actual age. That's really kind of stretching it, stretching the bounds of credulity. So that was really weird, and definitely she's doing, she, like I said, she's doing the spirit cooking. Don't know for sure what the fuck that is. It's some weird thing. Apparently was somehow connected to Hillary Clinton and other high-level Democrats. Now, as far as drinking children's blood, that sounds like it's another one of those things where they take what people have really said and they twist it so that it sounds crazier than it really is. Like, I don't remember anybody talking about them drinking children's blood. Although there's certainly people talked about adrenochrome. There's a lot of that, or was a lot of that talk at one point. QAnon conspiracy, again, no such thing as QAnon. There's Q and then there's the Anons. The ad was bombed with 24,000 dislikes. Well, good. That and you act like, oh, somehow that's that's bad. No, it's not. It's not. When Microsoft removed the ad, alt-right YouTubers like the quartering. The quartering is not alt-right. Not even fucking close. None of these people that you keep on saying are alt-right are alt-right. The quartering is barely right-wing. He is so fucking... Like I said, he's weak sauce. He's weak sauce, man. He is not very far to the right at all. He's barely right-leaning. We're quick to make videos celebrating the successful takedown. Good. I did not hear about this, but good. Learn to code, project-based learning. I don't know what that is offhand. A deep dive into Star Wars: The High Republic, bringing a younger Yoda to life in VR and more. and this is not, this what is this? What do they call it? Mass downvoting. Yeah, this is I believe more accurately known as getting ratioed. People are giving you a pretty unhealthy like to dislike ratio, because usually you got plenty of likes and only a few dislikes on most videos on YouTube. And it's not like it matters really, because the algorithm treats interaction with the video as positive. So even if you leave lots of downvotes on a video, it's the same thing as leaving an upvote. The algorithm just sees it as interaction with the content. So these people should actually be thankful that there's so many people downvoting, because it's the same, functionally, it's the same fucking thing as upvoting. But it does show that something is unpopular, and many people get very sensitive about that. Smart people tend not to care. They understand how the algorithm works, and they're like, great, people are downvoting it. That's fine. Don't care. But especially like corporate outlets, they're real sensitive about, oh, this makes us look bad. Mass downvoting tends to target women of color. Oh, God. More identity politics bullshit. For example, in February of this year, alt-right, lie, I'm certain, racist, racist bullshit, mass downvoted, ratioed. Videos in a Black Creativity in STEM playlist on YouTube. The mass downvoting affected several creators that month, especially those who ended up on YouTube's homepage. Like I said, they should be thankful. More people interacting with their content. They should be happy. This tactic has been used in Star Wars fandom as well to downvote videos from women of color and trans people of color. Oh, God. Intersectionality. Fuck you. And that have been uploaded to the official Star Wars channel. The goal of this downvoting is to either increase harassment against the people in the video or to get the video removed entirely. No, it's just for people to voice their opposition to the ridiculous bullshit that the corporations are pushing. We don't like the corporations and their bullshit. They're ignoring the voice of the fans, the people who actually pay money or would pay money for their product. And we don't like SJWs and their identity politics garbage. And you keep on claiming that, oh, we're evil istophobes because we don't like being shit upon. Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that. Review bombing. Like mass downvoting, review bombing is an organized takeover of online reviews that make a piece of content appear more hated than it really is. Not really true. I mean, if people go and express their opinion, and there's lots of them doing it, you're like, you're doing something wrong, and it's like, no, they're not. They're doing what they're free to do, what everybody else is free to do, and making their opinion known. The best example of review bombing is The Last Jedi Rotten Tomatoes score that caused a flurry of controversy in the press and was instrumental in pushing the narrative that The Last Jedi was a polarizing film among fans and their audiences. Aside from alt-right, lie, Facebook groups claiming credit for the film's current rotten audience score, 42%, the most obvious indication that The Last Jedi was review bombed was Rotten Tomatoes' decision to overhaul the voting system and give the ability to review films only to verified users. Yeah, in other words, they were making Disney look bad, and Disney was like, hey, you need to fix this, and so they did. More silencing of the fans. See, this is the problem. You're not learning. You're not learning anything. The fans tell you they don't like something, and your response is to try to silence them or ignore them or whatever. You're not learning. You're not learning. And it's going to continue to bite you in the ass. But as I've already said, like, the real problem that you're going to face is when the fans get tired of trying. Then the hate is going to go away. But you know what? the fans are going to go away too. When people become fully disillusioned, fully apathetic towards the franchise, once they have, they only hate it because they love it. They love Star Wars and they hate bad Star Wars. They love the good and they hate the bad, and that's why they express their hatred towards bad product, because they want you to make good product. They want to be able to buy it. And if you keep ignoring them and you keep telling them to fuck off, you keep calling them istophobes or whatever, and you keep on making nothing but bad product, eventually they're going to give up. Eventually they're going to stop telling you that they hate the bad product. And they're just not going to buy anything from you anymore. That is when the franchise will well and truly die. And that's probably coming because corporations don't seem capable of learning this lesson. Oh well. These changes were made in the lead up to Captain Marvel after it became clear that the movie was being politically targeted by a boycott campaign. We know from the analysis of 20 anti-The Last Jedi YouTubers that the same people who pushed extensive hate against The Last Jedi were leading the hate against Captain Marvel. Again, it's not it's not like, oh, we hate Captain Marvel because it's a woman. No. We hate this shit because it's garbage. It's poorly written, poorly executed. And often there are signs before something even comes out that it's going to be a certain way. People hear rumors, there are leaks. Sometimes just knowing the history of the people who wrote it or directed it or are acting in it gives you an idea that it's going to be woke bullshit. If it happens to not be, people are pleasantly surprised, and they will say so. And they will enthusiastically support it if it turns out to be good. But usually they were right to fear that it's going to be garbage. And then they all get to say, told you so. Otherwise, hate can spread. Finally, hate and radicalization can spread just by simply retweeting accounts associated with alt-right, again, lie, spaces, or posting videos from alt-lie spaces without realizing it. For example, in December 2020, Star Wars actor Mark Hamill unknowingly linked to a video by Echo Base Network, an alt-right YouTube account. Lie. Echo Base Network is not alt-right. They're not, as far as I'm aware, they're not even particularly right-leaning. Like they are either, I think, I don't know, they may not be like left-leaning, but they're like centrists. I think they try to stay non-political, as far as I'm aware. But they're like, you want to complain about geeks and gamers or whatever, and it's like, yeah, they are fans of Star Wars and things like that, but they're perhaps the more prickly type of fan that's less likely to support your product if they don't like it. It's like, oh, I don't like this product, so I'm not going to fucking support it. This is garbage. They will be the first to say that your product is bullshit. People like Echo Base Network, on the other hand, they're more like the kind of people that have an innate loyalty to your brand, and they really want to support you. They really want to be there for Star Wars. But even they, at some point, have to speak up and be like, guys, please do better. Oh my God. In the tweet, Hamill referred to the YouTubers, as well as similar alt-right lie YouTubers who were exuberant over the return of Luke Skywalker in the finale of The Mandalorian's second season, true fans. Yes, as I just said, they are your true fans. And not just that. They are the ones who are really there for it. They're nowhere like people like Echo Base Network. They're the ones they're so easy to please. Like, they really are. You don't actually have to give them a great product, just an acceptable product, and they will love you for it. They're the type of fans that are like that. They are predisposed to be more on your side than against you. Even when they probably should be against you, they're still going to really want to be with you. So if you're pissing all over them, you are really, really not doing yourself any favors. The host of Echo Base Network was on his Parler account the month before. Shouldn't have been on Parler. Not because, being on Parler means you're right wing, but because Parler was a trap. It's it's meant to be it's meant to keep people on the establishment right wing reservation. Get on Gab, people. Get on Gab. Hamill's tweets spreading before the month before Hamill's tweet spreading dangerous conspiracy theories that the United States election had been rigged. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. I don't care if nobody wants to hear it. I don't care if you want to pretend like that everybody's busy saying that it's it's no. It's a fact. It's very obvious to anybody who paid any attention to what went on. So shut the fuck up about, stop with that gaslighting horse shit. We know what happened. You got away with it. But if you think that there's something wonderful about having gotten away with it, you're in for a really nasty surprise. As I've said, you have just guaranteed that there is no saving the United States. It will not survive the next 5 years. The United States, probably in the next 4 years, not sure exactly when, the United States will begin to break apart. Not sure how fast it'll go once it gets started, but it is going to start relatively soon. It is the end of the empire, people. And the Democrats are the ones who pushed it over the edge and made, it's like Trump might have been able to buy us more time if we'd followed him up with another president or two that were really good with the economy and whatnot. Might have even saved the place, might have saved it for a generation. But that, that wasn't allowed to happen. So the die is cast. We will see. We will see how this all turns out. I don't think the left is going to be pleased. There's going to be a lot of chaos in the cities, and that's where most of the leftists live. But, for the rest of us, all I can say is there's no need to have too much animosity towards them, but there's no need to have too much sympathy for them either. So when they get what's coming to them, don't shed too many tears. Don't cheer, but don't shed too many tears either. I'm a fan myself, so I knew true fans would love it. But to see them thrilled beyond belief with the exuberance of children whooping it up, screaming ecstasy, the tears of sheer joy, it's a roller coaster of emotions I'll never forget. I don't know what UPFS, what? I don't know. Damn. All I can say to that is Mark Hamill may be a horrible leftist, but he has his moments, and he has more at least at times. When he's not busy being too overly influenced by his political leanings, uh, he's he has these moments where he is appreciative of fans in the way that certain other people, like Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, simply are not. Yep. Yep, 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 yep. Yep, yep. Each of these factors successfully creates an environment where the opinions of a small group of people become the majority and are allowed to dominate the conversation. When 1/4 of tweets with greater than 1,000 engagements mentioning The Last Jedi are discussing or mocking the hate against the film, the hate becomes the narrative over the actual value and achievements of that film. No, it was a terrible film. Look, that's the thing that you're just not willing to accept, but it's the truth. It was a terrible movie. I'm sorry if you don't think so, but it was. It was objectively terrible. Mahler can explain it better than I can. Go watch his video. Go watch his fucking video about The Last Jedi. He will go over in minute detail every fucking thing that was wrong with it. This is exactly what people who organize this hate want. Again, you're trying to pretend like these people have some sort of master plan or whatever, or that they're acting out Steve Bannon's master plan or whatever. It's not true. It's not the case. These are just fans who really love real Star Wars, and they hate what Disney's done to something beloved from their childhood. Why can't you just accept that? Why can't you just accept it and ignore it? I mean, why can't you feel bad for them that they feel so fucked over? You have no fucking empathy for them. No, you call them right wing. You call them, whether they are or not, you call them alt right when none of them are. You call them racists and bigots and all this shit, and they're not any of those things. That's objectively false. These people are not the evil bigots you paint them as. If we spend our time discussing why a film is so hated, we don't stop and discuss why the film is so important to the progression in culture. It's not. There's no important progression in culture achieved by bad movies. It's just not. Good movies, sure, that can achieve that, but bad ones, nope. These organized alt-right lie fan groups are terrified of. They're not terrified of your so-called progress. They don't like your identity politics, which is utter bullshit. They're not afraid of you. But I kind of think you're afraid of them. Otherwise, you wouldn't attack them so. And worse, we fall into the trap of making alt-right lie hate the story, which only increases the effectiveness of the alt-right lie radicalization pipeline. All of this is lies. All of it. All of it is a fucking lie. And Jesus Christ, there is so fucking much of this shit to go through. We're not done yet. There's so much more. I may try to get to do another stretch of it, but right now I'm gonna have to take another fucking break. Oh my God.